So when we talk about the monsoon, you know, most people might just think of heavy rain, right? That smell after the first downpour.
Yeah, maybe. But in India, well, it's just a whole different scale, isn't it?
Totally different. It's like the country's heartbeat,
Yeah.
especially for agriculture, how the country feeds itself.
Absolutely. And there's this whole rhythm to it, usually starting around June 1st in Kerala. It's been that predictable for ages.
Generations, yeah. It's baked into the calendar, into the national psyche almost.
It really is. For farmers, that early June date is the starting gun for the Kharif season. Their whole livelihood is structured around that timing.
Which is exactly why 2025 it felt like someone just flipped the script.
Mm.
Instead of easing in during June, bang, it hit Kerala, the Northeast, by May 27th. Much earlier.
Quite a bit earlier, yeah. It
Yeah.
took a lot of people by surprise. Like that guest turning up weeks early.
Exactly. And the urologist confirmed it wasn't just, a weird blip.
No, not at all. There was a pretty significant low pressure system spinning up in the Arabian Sea. Think of it like a big atmospheric vortex. And because the sea temperatures were higher than usual,
Ah, warmer water means more energy.
precisely, it gave the system extra oomph, basically. Pulled all that moisture towards India much faster, much earlier than normal. That, plus the bigger, complex climate picture,
Yeah.
it just set the stage.
Okay, so this early guest, the monsoon, showing up with its suitcase full of surprises. It's not all sunshine and roses, I imagine.
Definitely not. It's classic double-edged sword territory.
Right. Big potential upsides, but also risks.
Exactly, especially for agriculture, which is so massive, supporting so many people. About 60% of farmland is monsoon dependent, remember?
And we saw the flip side just last year, 2024, didn't we? A slight delay and the economy felt it.
Oh yeah, food prices jumped.
I remember the onions. Everyone was talking about the price of onions. It was crazy.
That delay was a big factor in food inflation across the board. So yeah, this early arrival in 2025 it's a fascinating contrast.
So that's our mission for this deep dive then. To unpack that suitcase, the good, the bad, the pain, and the gains of this early monsoon.
That's the plan, give you the clear picture without drowning you in jargon.
All right, let's start with the gains. What are the immediate positives, especially out in the fields?
Well, the biggest plus for farmers, particularly in places like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, the Northeast, is getting a head start.
Early planting.
Exactly. Those first rains give the soil that crucial moisture so they can get those really thirsty Kharif crops in the ground sooner. Rice, sugarcane, pulses.
And an early start usually means a better start, potentially bigger yields.
Often, yes. It gives the crops a longer growing season, more time to establish before the peak rains, perhaps. Plus, you mentioned the IMD, the Met Department.
Yeah, they're forecasting potentially above average rainfall overall this year.
They are, and if that holds true, well, early start plus potentially ample water, that's a recipe for really good yields.
Okay, so good news for farmers' incomes, potentially. What about the wider economy? Does it ripple outwards?
Oh, massively. Strong agriculture boosts the whole economy. Think about food prices. If harvests are good, prices tend to stabilize. Less chance of those onion price spikes we saw.
Okay, stable food prices definitely a gain for everyone's wallet.
Right. And it contributes positively to India's GDP. Plus, think about water.
Replenishing reservoirs.
Exactly. Reservoirs, rivers, groundwater, especially vital in states that often face drought, like Maharashtra or Karnataka. Getting that recharge early is huge.
And fuller reservoirs mean more hydropower.
Potentially, yes. A boost for clean energy generation. So better water security, potentially more power.
It's all connected. And I think I read something about global markets too, an export opportunity.
Yeah, that's another interesting angle. If India has a surplus of crops, say rice, wheat, sugarcane, because of a good early monsoon,
We could sell more abroad.
precisely, boost exports, earn valuable foreign exchange, it turns a domestic benefit into potentially a global trade advantage. Think about specific rice varieties needing early water. Maybe more of that goes to Southeast Asia.
Okay, so the gain side looks pretty strong. Happy farmers, economic boost,
Yeah.
water security, maybe even more exports.
Ah.
But there's always a but. Let's switch gears to the pain points.
Right, because that same rain causing celebration in rural areas can cause absolute chaos in the cities.
Yeah, we've already seen pictures, haven't we? Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata.
Uh-huh. Low-lying areas getting hit hard, streets turning into rivers almost instantly, traffic gridlock. We've even seen reports of cars getting swept away. It's dangerous.
And it's not just the flooding itself. Some areas have other risks, like Landslides.
That's a huge concern, especially in hilly, vulnerable regions. Wayanad in Kerala is a prime example. They had terrible landslides in 2018 and again just last year, 2024.
And early, heavy rain just makes that worse.
It saturates the soil much faster, making it unstable. The risk just shoots up. It's a direct threat to people living there.
It's always baffling how even moderate rain can bring big cities to their knees. It really highlights infrastructure problems, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Urban flooding is a chronic issue in many Indian cities. The drainage systems are often old, poorly maintained, or just overwhelmed by the sheer pace of construction.
So even normal rain can cause chaos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Look at Chennai's floods back in 2015, a devastating reminder of what can happen when the infrastructure can't cope. And with the monsoon arriving early, you worry if the civic bodies were fully prepped. Did they get the drains cleared in time? Maybe not.
Unpreparedness makes it worse. And beyond the flooding and infrastructure, what about health risks?
Yeah, that's another major concern. Monsoon season usually means more mosquito-borne diseases, dengue, malaria.
And early rains mean an early start to that season too.
Very likely. More stagnant water pooling earlier means more breeding grounds for mosquitoes. And this is especially worrying when you think about other health issues circulating, like that HMPV, the respiratory virus we saw recently.
So a potential double whammy for health systems.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Managing vector-borne diseases and respiratory illnesses at the same time.
And just day-to-day life for city folks. Commuting must be a nightmare.
Oh, absolutely. Public transport gets disrupted, roads are a mess, sometimes impassable. Trying to find an auto rickshaw in a downpour, good luck.
Huh. Yeah, tell me about it.
It just adds so much stress, time, cost to people's daily lives, impacts productivity, everything.
And such a stark contrast, isn't it? Life-giving rains for farmers, life-disrupting floods for city dwellers, same weather system, different impacts.
It really makes you think about the bigger picture.
Which brings us squarely to climate change. How strong is the link between this early monsoon and, well, the planet warming up?
Well, look, attributing any single weather event solely to climate change is complex, but this early arrival fits the pattern, the trend we're seeing globally.
What kind of trends?
Rising sea surface temperatures, shifting wind patterns, melting ice, it's all making weather systems, including the monsoon, more unpredictable, more intense sometimes.
And that warmer Arabian Sea we talked about,
Mhm.
that fits the climate change picture.
It does. That extra heat provides the fuel for systems like that low-pressure area to strengthen and move faster. It's a known consequence of warming oceans. So yes, climate change likely played a role in intensifying the system that brought the monsoon early.
So this might not be a one-off. We could see more early arrivals, or late ones, or just weird ones.
The trend in recent years points towards increasing variability. Sometimes too much rain, causing floods, sometimes too little, causing drought, sometimes late, sometimes early. This erratic behavior seems to be becoming more common.
Which makes planning incredibly difficult, I imagine, for farmers, for city planners.
Exactly. It throws a huge spanner in the works for long-term planning and preparedness.
Quite sobering. While the world discusses climate action, India's right here, feeling these effects very directly through something as fundamental as the monsoon.
India is definitely on the front lines. Its geography, its reliance on the monsoon, it makes the country particularly vulnerable. This early monsoon is, you could say, another clear signal, a call for adaptation.
So speaking of adaptation, what are we actually doing about it? How are we responding to this early arrival?
Well, on the forecast front, the IMD does crucial work. Getting those warnings out about heavy rain, potential hazards, that's step one.
But a forecast is only useful if people act on it.
Absolutely. And translating forecasts into effective action on the ground, that's the tricky part.
What about places like Kerala, which have had those terrible landslide experiences? Are they getting better prepared?
There's definitely been more focus on preparedness there, yes.
Yeah.
Identifying vulnerable zones, setting up warning systems, having response teams ready. They've learned hard lessons. But, the real test is always the next major event.
And the cities. The drainage issue. Are projects like cleaning Mumbai's Mithi River actually helping?
There are efforts, yes. Discussions about upgrades, projects like Mithi desilting. But the scale of the problem in most big cities is just enormous. Infrastructure improvements often lag behind the pace of growth and the increasing intensity of the rain.
So promises versus reality on the ground could be different.
Often, yes, there can be a gap. It takes sustained investment and effort.
And for farmers who are trying to navigate these shifts, is there enough support?
There are government schemes, yeah. Subsidies for seeds, fertilizers, irrigation, trying to help farmers capitalize on good conditions like early rain.
But do those benefits reach everyone, the small farmers?
That's often the challenge. Bureaucracy, sometimes corruption, can mean the support doesn't always get to the farmers who need it most, efficiently. Access needs to be easier.
Okay, so it's a mixed bag on the response front, too. Some progress, but big challenges remain.
Hmm.
What about us, individuals? What can people do?
Well, there are practical things. For farmers, it's about being ready, fields prepped, ready to sow when the rain comes early.
And for city folks?
Investing in decent rain gear, obviously. But also staying informed, check weather alerts. Maybe avoid non-essential travel when really heavy rain is forecast. Simple things can reduce risk.
And maybe thinking bigger picture, too, about sustainability.
Definitely. Things like cutting down on single-use plastic that stuff clogs drains. Conserving water, even when it's raining, because long-term security matters. Supporting local, sustainable farming.
It all adds up.
It contributes to building resilience, absolutely. Every little bit helps the bigger system cope.
This early monsoon in 2025, it really feels like a moment that highlights India's deep, deep connection to nature's rhythms, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. The monsoon isn't just weather, it's woven into the culture, history, art, festivals, everything. For centuries, life has revolved around its arrival.
But now, with climate change making it so unpredictable, that connection demands something new from us.
It demands adaptability, resilience. We need to celebrate the gains when they come, the good crops, the full rivers, but also urgently tackle the pains, the floods, the health risks, the shaky infrastructure.
Finding that balance, right? Learning to live with the monsoon, unpredictable as it might become, respecting its power but being prepared.
That's it, exactly. It's about acknowledging its vital role even when it causes disruption. It's fundamental to India.
So, wrapping up our deep dive today.
Oh.
The 2025 monsoon arrived early, driven by that Arabian Sea system likely boosted by warmer waters, a climate change fingerprint perhaps?
Bringing potential booms for agriculture, but real busts for urban areas through flooding and health risks.
Yeah, and it underscores that growing unpredictability and the absolute need for adaptation from government action on infrastructure and farmer support.
Right down to individual choices about preparedness and sustainability.
It's a potent reminder of the monsoon's enduring power in India's story, past, present, and future.
And it leaves you thinking, doesn't it, about our own relationship with this incredible, vital, and sometimes challenging force of nature. How do we navigate that changing relationship?